everyone and welcome back to another video. Now this channel normally focuses on everything Steam Deck, but I do play other games on other systems from time to time. So today that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about 4 games that I've been playing that I've not been playing on Steam Deck. I like making these videos from time to time. It's just fun to talk about games in general. So let's get straight on with the first one. I'm going to start with 2 games that I'm currently playing and then move on to a couple of games that I've recently beaten. And the first game we're going to talk about is Armored Core 6: Fires of Rubicon. I'd never actually played any other Armored Core games before this one, but I thought that the trailers for this looked really cool when it was announced, and so it's been on my radar for a while. I actually said in a video towards the end of last year that I wanted to get into this game in 2025. And I have to say, for my first time entering the series, I am enjoying it a lot. Armored Core 6 is a mission style game. I'm not going to get too deep into the story, but you're here on Rubicon searching for something, and the thing you're searching for is pretty valuable, so it means that you bump up against the various corporations that are vying for power on the planet. None of the missions are overly long, which is nice if you just want some sort of bite-sized gaming, and to start with, they're pretty simple objectives, although I will say the difficulty does seem to ramp up quite quickly in chapters 2 and 3. Movement plays a huge part in the combat of this game. With one button, your AC glides across the floor really smoothly, and then you can also boost into the air for a short time, like a jump. If you click in the left stick, you surge forwards, and there's also a dodge button to give you a very quick shift in momentum to one side or the other or backwards. And once you get the hang of combining the movement mechanics with firing off your weapons, the combat feels really good. It's very slick and it feels quite unique compared to most other games that I've played, whizzing back and forward, dodging enemy missiles and gunshots and that kind of thing while you attack yourself. There is also loads of depth when it comes to customizing your AC. There's plenty of directions you can take it. Do you want a massive monster that has loads of armor and huge guns, but maybe it's not very mobile? Or would you rather go the other way and have something really mobile, light and zippy that can dash around and dodge all of your enemy attacks? The game starts you off somewhere in the middle, and to be honest, I haven't deviated from this too much. It can be a little overwhelming just with how many different parts are thrown at you as you progress through the game, but also I just kind of like the middle ground anyway. I like how that feels to play. So I've got kind of a standard gun, a couple of rocket launchers on each shoulder, and a sword. I've not changed the body too much because again, it's kind of complex to get into, but I have, messed with the colors a little bit. I've seen some crazy designs online, but I quite like the muted look. If the whole AC was really bright, it kind of feels like it would be a little bit out of place in the rest of the world. Speaking of the world, I have been really enjoying the setting of this game. It's definitely not somewhere that I'd want to live myself, but it just looks spectacular. You go to all of these giant mechanical structures, the AC style designs are pretty varied, and some of the missions actually turn into huge spectacles. One of the earlier ones involves scaling a massive walker. It almost looks a bit like something out of Star Wars, and as you approach it from afar, it starts to fire off this huge laser at you. The graphics and sound effects just make it feel so powerful as it's coming at you, and once you reach it, you have to scale it and make your way to the top. At the point of recording this video, I think I'm about halfway through Armored Core 6 now, just based on how many chapters there are and how long it's supposed to take to complete. And the missions have really started to pull me in now. They're a bit more varied, there's a bit more of a structure to them, they feel like they're leading me in a certain direction, and there's a bit of a mystery. There's some stuff you don't know loads about at the moment. The missions have also started to get pretty hard, and it's now becoming much more likely that I'll come across a boss at the end of each one. Now, boss fights usually take me a few tries. It does feel good to beat them, but I'm wondering how the difficulty will continue to ramp up. Like I said, so far I've not really changed my AC too much, and I've definitely not changed it to fit into a mission specifically, but the game doesn't seem to have much vertical progression, like this is a rocket launcher and this is the same rocket launcher but it does more damage. It's more kind of vertical progression, so this is a rocket launcher, this rocket launcher does more damage but it's heavier so it slows you down, that kind of thing. So you're not getting any straight upgrades, you're kind of having to choose what to focus on and what to sacrifice when it comes to your AC. And I'm wondering if I'll come up against something that I just can't take down with my current setup, and then I'll have to build something new, which isn't necessarily more powerful in every aspect, but it's more tailored specifically against that enemy. If that does happen, I'm not sure how much that would be my thing. Changing it up every mission seems like it might be a bit of a chore, but so far I'm really enjoying my time with Armored Core 6, and if that does happen, I am willing to give it a go and see how I find it. What's interesting is that this game came out something like 10 years after the previous entry, so I actually have no idea if it even plays the same as any of the older games. I might be tempted to try some of them if they are sort of a similar style once I've finished Armored Core 6. I have read though that it has multiple endings which you have to access through 2 New Game Plus playthroughs, and I'm not really sure that I want to play it a total of 3 times, but I'd at least like to beat it once. So this next game is a game that I did not expect to be talking to you about in a YouTube video, and it came about in a bit of an unusual way. I don't normally watch a lot of Twitch streamers, but I do watch a fair bit of YouTube, and I started to see that a lot of the big World of Warcraft streamers were trying out old school RuneScape, and they were having a really good time with it. But what caught my eye the most was that some of them were doing it with Iron Man accounts, which meant that you couldn't trade with other players, and anything that you wanted to get in the game, you had to figure out a way to acquire it for yourself. Now, a few days later, I was talking to my brother, and he used to be really into the game. I think at one point he actually had a completion cape, which I think means you've basically done everything. And so I mentioned to him that I thought this seemed cool, and he suggested that we start to play group Iron Man accounts together and see how we got on. Now, I'm not sure how long either of us expected this to last, but that was a few months ago now, and I've played old school RuneScape, I think, pretty much every single day since then. This is my stat page on the screen. There are others like it, but this one is mine, and I'm very proud of it. So like I mentioned, an Iron Man account means you can't trade, but us starting a group Iron Man account at least means that we can trade with each other. You might think that this makes it really hard, it extends the grind, and yes, it does, but the flip side of that is that 1, we work together really closely on our account goals, and 2, it's so rewarding when you get some kind of upgrade on your account because you know that you really earned it. So like pretty much everyone else, I think, I used to play RuneScape on and off quite a bit when I was younger, and my account then even had items like an Abyssal Whip or a Bandos Godsword, which were some of the stronger weapons at the time. Not sure if they are now anymore. Now, these were drops. You had to go and get them from fighting monsters, but the monsters were really difficult. They were in dangerous locations, and so really only the strongest or most powerful players were able to get them. Or like me, you could just save up a bunch of money from other means and buy them from other players, but you can't do that on an Iron Man account. Now, there's an item called a Black Mask, which helps with one of the skills, which is Slayer. On normal accounts, getting this is not really a big deal. You can just buy it on the Grand Exchange from other players. I think it's a little bit expensive, but I don't think it's too bad in the grand scheme of things. To get mine though, I had to go and fight cave horrors who drop the item. Now, to be able to fight cave horrors, even just to, click the attack button on them, you need to be level 58 Slayer, which takes quite a long time to get by itself. But then once you've reached that level, the only place to fight them is on an island called Mos Lamlas. Or Mosla Armless, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. To unlock access to this island, you need to do a quest called Cabin Fever. But Cabin Fever itself has several requirements, and these are both skill levels and also quest unlocks, and some of those quest unlocks also have their own requirements. The longest grind that I think I had to do was probably the level 40 farming requirement. Farming in RuneScape works in real time. You plant your seeds, and then depending on the crop, it might take a few hours or a few days to grow. Now, on normal accounts, you just buy tree seeds because these take a long time to grow, but they give a lot of XP. So it's kind of a bit of a way to do it without putting loads of effort in. You don't have to check in very often to get a very good XP rate. But since I couldn't just buy tree seeds from other players, I was just scrounging off the best seeds that I could possibly find, logging in when I could to make sure to harvest and plant new seeds. So it took a really long time, but I finally reached the level requirement, and I did all the quests, some of which were pretty funny actually, and I unlocked access to the island. But then the drop rate for this item is 1 in 500, and of course I wanted 2 so that we could each have one. Now, if this sounds like hell to you, I fully get it. I can completely understand why you would think that, but for me, something about the way this progression works, I really enjoyed it. Just ticking off each requirement, going through all the quests and finally doing them, unlocking access to the island and going to fight the cave horrors. And then when I finally got the 2 drops in just 546 kills, that was an amazing feeling. To top it off, there's a lot of content that I had to do to unlock this that I probably would have just skipped if I had been able to buy things. So really, by playing this Iron Man account, I feel like I'm seeing a lot more of the game than I might have done otherwise. It's also helped me by giving me quite a lot of things to work towards. The game is so open that, I could see myself kind of logging in, having no idea which direction to go in, and then just sort of dropping it after a little while. But because I can't just buy everything, there's always some reason to be leveling this skill or that skill or working towards this or that. I like to look things up in game, but also my brother knows so much about it that he's been able to sort of coach me through things that we should be trying to work towards at different stages of our account progression. And it's just been a lot of fun getting really stuck into a game with him again. When I first played RuneScape when I was younger, I didn't have a lot of patience for skilling. I just kind of wanted to fight everything. These days though, maybe even now that I'm older, or with the introduction of more skilling mini games, I've been having a good time with skilling in general. And at one point, RuneQuest crafting was actually my highest stat because I was enjoying the Guardians of the Rift minigames so much, and smithing wasn't far behind, but once I'd unlocked Giant's Foundry, which again is another minigame that works specifically for smithing. So at this point, we've started to do a little bit of bossing. We managed to get our first good amount of gold from running Scurious. It was quite slow at first, and for me, a little bit tricky switching back and forth between prayers because that's completely new to me, but I did learn how it works and things got a lot smoother once the weapon from Scurious dropped from us, because that specifically does more damage to that boss. We did then try a few others, Sarachnis, Royal Titans, and Dagannoth Kings, but we struggled with those. I think maybe we went for it a little bit too early. Now that our individual melee, range, and magic combat stats are starting to approach level 70 though, we're starting to do a few runs of Barrows, and actually I have done a full Barrows run a few times now, which I'm really pleased with. I'm slow. I used quite a few prayer potions, but I managed to beat all of the brothers, and I'm really pleased with that. Even though I've played on this account for quite a long time now, you know, a lot of time has gone in to get to this point. It's still really just an early game account. There's still a lot to learn and a lot to unlock. Neither of us know a lot about the new stuff that they added in recent years, so all tips are welcome, but for now I am really enjoying playing this, and I can see myself playing it for quite a long time to come. Next up is Clair Obscur Expedition 33. I know I'm a little bit late to the party to talk about this one, but Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is my favorite game this year so far, and one of my favorite games of all time. I actually played Clair Obscur Expedition 33 on release, and I wanted to make a video about it back then, but it took me a while to kind of figure out what that video could maybe be, and I didn't have loads of footage at the time, so the idea kind of died off, but I'm really glad I get to talk about it finally in this video. I know everyone says it, but this game is amazing. It pretty much did everything right for me. The character work, the writing, the story were all amazing, and they really drew me in. I really like the art style too, and while the music I think can be pretty weird without the context of the game, within the game itself it's so good. It's one of my favorite soundtracks to a game, and some of the battles are really raised up to another level because of the music that plays during boss fights. Something that I think made my playthrough even more fun is that I actually think I hit the difficulty curve of this game just right. I'm not always huge on side content. I did do some as I was playing towards the start of the game, but partway through I just started to charge through the main story, not because I wanted the game to be over, but because I wanted to see what happened with it and where they took the story. This meant that I never really reached a point that I heard a lot of people did, where I was never overpowered and just blowing away bosses with a few attacks. Now, I love the combat in this game anyway, the mix of turn-based gameplay with real-time interactions. Once you start to get a feel for the dodge and parry mechanics, it's so satisfying, but it all came together for me in the boss battles. As I said, I wasn't overpowered, and so sometimes bosses would take a few attempts, but that feeling of figuring out the moveset, dodging first while you get the hang of it, but then starting to land a few parries as you understand them better, getting the counter attacks, building up ability points. Sometimes they take a few tries still, but each time I could feel myself getting better. One incredible moment that I still remember even now was going into a boss fight for the first time. Its design is awesome, the music switches from sort of gentle background music to epic boss fight music, and the boss starts to wind up its first attack. You don't know exactly when it's going to hit, especially when you're seeing it for the first time, so you're just kind of looking out for anything that might give you an indication. You're getting ready to dodge for the first time instead of parry because that's a larger window, so it's a bit more forgiving. But just at the last moment, the boss emitted a tiny sound which I'd heard before fighting one or two other bosses, and just by instinct I hit the parry button instead of dodge and landed it first time just based on that sound, and that just made me feel incredible. It made me feel like I was really understanding the game and getting good at it. That gameplay loop of fighting bosses a few times, slowly learning their moveset and how to beat them, and then feeling yourself getting better at the game, that has actually given me a bit of a longing since I finished this, and I'm wondering actually if I might get something like that from Souls-like games. I've always struggled to get into them in the past, but kind of that loop has made me think maybe I would enjoy them. Now, I know it's not exactly the same, you know, especially in this game. A good thing about this one is that you could get back into the boss fights very quickly after dying. There wasn't much traveling to do or stuff in between, and maybe the turn-based nature of Clair Obscur made it easier to learn how to read the bosses. There's kind of a bit of a rhythm element to it as well. A lot of the moves have multiple hits that always land with the same timing. So I get that there will be differences, but I don't know, do you think I might enjoy Souls-like games based on what it was that I enjoyed about about these boss fights. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and if you think I would enjoy them, then let me know where's a good place to start with Souls-like games. Either way though, I absolutely love this game. I still listen to the soundtrack even now, months after I finished it, and I think it's going to remain one of my favorites for a long time. So the last game that I'm going to talk about today is Control. I've tried to play Control a couple of times before, but I always bounced off it. The first time I just didn't get very far, and then I got distracted. The second time I did get further, but I got a bit spooked partway through. But as they say, third time is the charm, and I've now beaten both the main storyline for Control and both of the big story DLCs. There are a few aspects to this game that maybe I wasn't so keen on, but there was a lot that I think it did right. I really like how they build the mystery, and it kind of pulls you through the main game. Why are you suddenly the director? Who does Jesse keep talking to? What's going on in the bureau? Who are all these different characters? The only thing for me was that I didn't quite feel like we got satisfying answers to a lot of these questions, and sort of at the end a lot of stuff felt unresolved. Now, I'm not saying that every little thing should have been answered. You know, leaving some mysteries is a good thing, I think, but maybe a little bit more explanation would have helped me. One thing I did really enjoy though is the progression of your powers through the main game. The ability to grab and throw objects and really sort of destroy all of those office environments, it's just fun. You don't need to say much else, it's just a lot of fun to do, and so that's where I put most of my perk points throughout my playthrough. Flying is quite fun as well, but it's a bit more like floating, and it can feel a little limited at times. And then towards the end of the game, I really appreciated the shield ability as well. I actually kind of ignored this power for maybe the first half of the game, but the more enemies that you fought that had missiles and would fire missiles at you, the more satisfying it was just to, you know, maybe you're kind of sprinting between cover, you know, you duck out from one and then a missile comes flying at you and you just throw up a shield over your shoulder, deflect the missile and just keep running to the next piece of cover. I don't know, I found that really satisfying. It was a lot of fun. I did still find the game creepy this time round. I'm really bad with jump scares, and while there's only really one or two of those jump scares scattered through this game, it always felt like the threat was there, like it could jump scare you at any moment. So it kind of always had me a little bit tense. Especially when you're messing with lights. Now there is one way of transportation in Control where you have to sort of flick a light switch on and off, and it just feels like the perfect moment for there to be a jump scare on it. And I think they did do a jump scare one time in this, but it just meant that I was always kind of on edge while you were doing that, and I was always like playing through my fingers when I was doing those moments. I mentioned that I played through both DLCs. I liked these both fine, but I did think that the main game was stronger. Foundation was interesting, but very similar environment the whole way through when you played it, and AWE did have some cool moments, but it felt more like it was just kind of a teaser to try and get you to buy Alan Wake 2. One of my niggles with the main game was that there wasn't really a final boss fight, so I enjoyed having one in Foundation, and then in AWE I liked the first boss fight where you didn't really fight the boss exactly, but it was more like you had to figure out how to get the lights on. That was a cool change. So that was quite fun the first one or two times that you did it, but then all of the boss fights in the DLC expansion seemed to be that, so I don't know if maybe they just ran out of ideas or something. If they ever make a sequel to Control, I would definitely be interested in that. Like I said, there's still loads of mysteries that didn't really get answered, and now it's true that I did not go out of my way to find all of the collectibles that you can read, so maybe if I'd gone through all of that information, it's possible that I might have been able to piece more things together. But on the other hand, some of what I thought were quite big questions, big ideas, they didn't get answered in the main story, so maybe a sequel could at least give us some more to go on, even if they want to keep some of the mysteries, you know, if they want to remain a mystery. I would recommend this game though, at least give it a try and see what you think for yourself. Just be warned, my PC sounded like it was going to take off whenever I loaded it up. It's very demanding on the GPU. So there we go. Those are 4 games that I'm either playing at the moment or I have beaten lately. Now, I've said on this channel a few times that I usually struggle to actually like finish many games, but it's been going a little bit better recently. I've kind of found a way that means that maybe I can sort of slowly progress through at least 1 or 2 games, and so I'm kind of hoping that maybe down the line I can do a few more of these videos where I say, oh, I've actually beaten another few games. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you're playing down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.